Hi everyone, welcome back to Revolve headquarters. Today I'm going to teach you one of the best ways to use leftover dough. So, at the end of a pizza party, it's so common that you have leftover dough. And it's common that you have some leftover toppings too. So, the best thing to do is to make focaccia. Have a look at the dough here. Often at the end of a party, it's well proven and it's ready to cook. Now you have a few options. I suggest when you're making focaccia, use our cast iron pan, which is designed to be deep enough to be able to fit a focaccia inside. It's got the lid that you can close and then you can put it in the Revolve and you can cook. You have two choices. You can either take individual dough balls, carefully remove them, trying to keep as much air in as possible, place it in your pan, add your toppings and olive oil and put it in. Or, if you have the time, I definitely suggest you take 2 or 3 dough balls, put them in the cast iron pan, and let them re-proof for at least an hour, maybe even 2 hours. That way, you're gonna have a nicely risen focaccia. So try to see this as a way to use the dough, but also to create a really special bread. Okay, so the dough has had 2 hours. Have a look at it now. It has re-risen from the dead. That is 3 dough balls, beautifully risen and ready to top. Now I'm gonna hit it with a little bit more olive oil. And focaccia should be full of olive oil. That's what gives it its nice, soft bounce and a really nice texture. And then I'm gonna place my cherry tomatoes into the bread. When you place your cherry tomatoes in, give them a little push down so that you create a pocket for the tomato. And also that means that the dough is just going to expand around the tomato, which is a really nice feature. Okay, so be nice and generous with your tomatoes. And remember, as you make those pockets for all the tomatoes, the juice from the tomatoes when it cooks is going to bleed into the bread, and that gives a wonderful taste as well. Now, in terms of the temperature of the oven, we want it at a low temperature. So you can actually start this from a cold oven and it's absolutely fine. So go with a low flame and we're going to put the lid on top, and that's going to cook it at a low heat, which is going to make sure that the bread cooks evenly through the middle of the dough. And what's really important about a cast iron pan is that it creates an oven. So by sealing in all the heat and by conducting the heat really nice and evenly, cast iron is the perfect way of creating an oven for making bread. So that is how we're going to get an even cook. Low temperature, really important. Now we're going to top this with some oregano. Oregano, tomato, olive oil. Beautiful. Okay, then we're going to go in with our Kalamata olives. And my message to you for this focaccia is, this is just a base. You can use whatever toppings you have left over. If at the end of the party you've got some extra prosciutto, throw some prosciutto on it. If you've got leftover sausage meat, put that in. Caramelized onions. Oh, caramelized onions in focaccia is wonderful. Different herbs, you can use basil. There is no real rule. It's just a case of, with your leftover dough, reinvent it as a beautiful bread that you can have the next day. And it's just a logical way of making use of what you have. Now we take our cast iron lid and we seal it in. And really, for a bread this sort of size, we want it to be cooking for at least 15-20 minutes. So important, you put it into a cold oven and use a low flame to gently cook the bread so that it cooks evenly through the middle before it starts to take on any color. So let's put it in the Revolve and see what happens. One more thing, for a quick version, take a dough ball, put it into a little frying pan, add olive oil, gently push, push, push. And now we'll top it with a little bit of onion. A little bit of rosemary. Push it all in. A bit more of olive oil. And a little bit of sea salt. And there, you can have another beautiful bread nice and quickly without having to wait for it to rise again. So just individual portions is another great way to use leftover dough. This one will cook even quicker. Okay, so it's now been 40 minutes. For the first 20 minutes, I had it on low temperature. Remember, I started the oven cold. Low temperature, it started to rise, started to bubble, and actually I decided to turn the heat off and leave it for about 15 minutes and let the residual heat cook the dough through. Then I finished it off for the last 5 minutes. So the whole cook time was 40 minutes. Let's have a look at it. Well, firstly, I can tell you it smells incredible. There's something about the smell of oregano when it cooks. Now, have a look inside. Ooh, lost a few tomatoes. This is why it's important to make sure you dig them nice into your dough. Have a look at that bread. It is beautiful. And if we tap it, it sounds hollow, which is a good sign. That means it's cooked. So let's turn this bread out onto a board. It smells incredible. Now remember, that was 3 dough balls, so that is quite a large bread. That's why it took so long to cook. But obviously, if you want to do individual dough balls, you can cook it a lot faster. Now, moment of truth. Plenty of oil in there, so it should come out nicely. Just loosen it up with your spatula. The crunch sounds amazing. You can really hear how crispy and crunchy that is. Now, we can turn it out onto our board, and I'll probably turn it out and then turn it back over. Woo-hoo-hoo. Wow, look at that. I'm gonna have to cut straight into it. It smells incredible. Remember, this is the most beautiful dough that you've made all these wonderful pizzas with. And it's just recreating another beautiful bread. Look at this. It's just wonderfully cooked. Nice and light. You've got all the air bubbles because it's a Biga, so it's done all that work already. You've already done all the work making your pizza. This is just a no-brainer to turn it into a wonderful bread that you can enjoy for the next few days. You can make sandwiches, you can do all sorts with this. So really, I would encourage you to take a little bit of extra time, make a focaccia, use the cast iron pan, stick it in the Revolve, and the results, I mean, they speak for themselves. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.